Hello my fellow weebs, I have a very interesting video for you today, and that would be the likes of Naruto Uzumaki from the Naruto Boruto franchise running up against the likes of Mark Grayson from the Invincible TV and comic book series, and this is a very interesting fight to me due to the fact that not only will this be debated for years after the franchises end, if they ever actually do let Naruto Boruto end, and it's all due to the fact of how similar these two characters are, with Mark Grayson and Naruto Uzumaki being leaders in their own verse, with Mark being the leader of the Viltrum Empire and Naruto being the 7th Hokage. Now, what you do not care about is their occupations. You are here to see them fight to the death, and I am happy to oblige. Now, before I get into the power scaling of these two characters, there is a tiny misconception I want to get out of here. There is a really weird thing that a lot of new-gen anime skillers seem to do. They basically say you can't possibly scale to something unless you destroy it, and if you were to harm a character that could destroy it, meaning their durability was bypassed by, let's say, your striking strength, then that is chain scaling and we are not able to do it. Shut the fuck up. Like, seriously. You're at this point trying to ignore the narrative of what's actually going on in the story at that point, and it is completely irrelevant to anything moving on forward. What's more is we don't actually need characters to destroy things to scale to them. Using your fucking logic, Goku dies to a laser that's not even town level. Now, when it comes to Mark Grayson, he's actually not that complicated to scale, and there are things like him being able to punch through Viltrum alongside Omni-Man and Thetis, as well as his being able to possibly tank the explosion of the Sun Disk by EOS, which would make a lot of sense. And this was actually really impressive in the show as well. Now, when it comes to the higher end metas for this, however, a lot of people usually don't like them, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. We know that characters like the Space Racer, for example, is capable of blowing up entire stars with his gun, though the issue with that is the laser itself didn't destroy Viltrum, despite Viltrum only being a planet. But a lot of people, weirdly enough, try to use this to upscale Viltrum to like star level, so take that as you will. Though there actually is another meta that could potentially get Mark way higher than even just star level, and that would be going over the fact that Dinosaurus is capable of killing Omnipotus, and Mark is capable of killing Dinosaurus. Now, the reason Omnipotus is so powerful is because a star system was destroyed in Invincible, and he was able to absorb the joule amount of the chain reaction that caused this. This means that Omnipotus actually has the power to harm people who could possibly destroy star systems, and he should be able to scale to it in durability as well. When it comes to things like speed, on the other hand, this is actually one of the easiest things to scale for Mark Grayson, and that's because characters like Omni-Man, Thrag, Conquest, and probably many other Viltrumites are capable of traversing entire galaxies and fighting at these speeds while flying throughout space, so that is a very insane thing to do. Now that I've covered both strength and speed, Mark doesn't really have insane hacks, so I think it's about time we started talking about what Naruto brings to the table. Now, before I get into the Naruto scaling, I do want to mention that Mark being at solar system level kinda means that he shits on a lot of Naruto characters from before. For example, Madara literally moving the God Tree at high speeds, while also using the infamous Tsukiyomi on the moon. Yeah, these kinds of feats are actually really trash to characters like Mark. Another example is characters like Toneri being able to cut the moon in half, as well as using the power of the Tenseigan. What's really crazy about the Tenseigan, however, and the fact that Naruto one-shot Toneri while putting his hand through the power source from Tenseigan, is the fact that the Tenseigan could protect this castle from being destroyed when both the planet and the moon would literally be crashing into each other. But even then, that would just be absolutely fucking nothing to someone like Mark, and he would probably just speed blitz and one-shot them both. In other words, if we don't get some really good scaling for Naruto, then he's probably going to be in the same boat. Now, the mainline scaling for Naruto actually comes from a group of characters known as the Osuki, and the Osuki are basically parasitic alien fuckers that go around the entire universe, eating planet by planet after they plant what is known as a God Tree, and once the God Tree or the Ten Tails is fully grown, they basically feed whatever subordinate they have with them at that time to the Ten Tails, growing what is known as a chakra fruit. And keep in mind, whenever a chakra fruit is finally finished sucking the chakra out of the planet is actually destroyed, meaning they are absorbing within themselves, whether they eat these chakra fruits, enough energy to literally destroy an entire planet. And they do this multiple times throughout history, over and over and over again, and this is for a good reason. is because one character known as Shibai, basically he absorbed so much power that he was able to literally transcend to a higher dimension. Now keep in mind, Naruto is most definitely weaker than Shibai, and Shibai is probably the strongest character we have seen in the franchise so far. However, Naruto would most definitely scale to characters like Ishiki, Momoshiki, and Kaguya. Now, Kaguya is a very contentious character capable of creating entire spacetimes, and the size of her dimensions is something that's even debated nowadays, and I am going to do the best I can to give you a range in which you can scale it. Now, her spacetimes obviously have the bare bone minimum of what you can scale it to, and that is mentioning things like a planet and a star. Now, keep in mind, some of the dimensions, it varies. The planet could be a little farther away from the star, the planet could be a little closer to the star, but bare minimum, that planet should be in the Goldilocks zone so that it may be capable of sustaining life. Now keep in mind, things like a planet and a star in a dimension that actually be scaled to things like large star level. Also, a funny thing I wanted to mention, one of the planets was actually so big that its gravity was holding down all three Kaguya and Six Paths Naruto and Sasuke. Now, if we were to get into the other metas for Kaguya and her spacetimes, there's actually a different argument you could use, which will require you arguing the video game's canon, which both Kishimoto and many others seem to support, and that would be mentioning the fact that the Redshift Nebulas exist in the video game version of Kaguya creating her dimensions, or us being teleported to her dimensions, and a Redshift Nebula is very simple. Basically, the universe is always expanding, you see, and light expands with it. It literally stretches out, and as it stretches out, it will become a different color, and this is known as a redshift. Basically, a redshift is a very, very distant galaxy, pretty much. And considering how red it is in both the Naruto video game as well as the Boruto anime, we can conclude that this redshift is actually millions of light years away. What's more is a redshift nebula is often used as evidence of an expanding universe. Another thing to mention that you could argue is the fact that Kaguya is capable of both destroying as well as recreating her spacetimes, which would probably include the timeline that contains all the matter of this potential universe, and her being able to even destroy the timeline as well could literally be argued as her destroying the past, present, and future, and a timeline is often debated, but they're usually debating that it is infinite in length, so yeah, that is a arguable universal plus fee for Kaguya right there. Now, I could talk all day about the wank that could possibly be the low multiversal Naruto, but I'm just going to outright say I don't really agree with that. Even as a high-end, I just think it's honestly fucking wank. And I would rather just mention the fact that Naruto should outscale the likes of Ishiki, or at least a version of Ishiki was fighting in Baryon mode, and this was a very weakened Baryon mode. Which means that Naruto should very easily scale to the stuff I just mentioned before. When it comes to things like speed for Naruto, we obviously have in both part 1 and 2 of Naruto many things that are confirmed to be light speed, such as Haku being able to move between his mirrors at light speed, or even the Raikage moving near light speed, and obviously Naruto was capable of moving faster than the Light Fang when it was literally in his fucking face. And later on, Naruto, with chakra sickness, literally dodged light coming at him while he can use his chakra. And based off how much faster one can get after a chakra amp, this would be pretty insane. Possibly even in the MFTL category. Though this would probably not be as fast as Mark. The only way you could really argue that is if you argue that Momoshiki being able to send his chakra throughout his entire dimension is a universal distance, so take that as you will. To truly say who I believe wins this fight, I actually really think it depends on how you scale the characters, but if I had to personally side with anybody, I would actually end up siding with Naruto. Honestly, the higher end metas are not as bad as I used to think they were, and the same could be said for Mark as well, honestly, but the main thing for Mark and why I think the fight would be somewhat difficult is because of his fucking speed edge, obviously. Now, if he were to get tagged by Naruto, he obviously would most likely die, hence why I don't have him winning, but Naruto also is a better tactician, has better hacks, and his win condition is just way easier to meet. There will be more Naruto and Invincible content in the future, so I suggest that you both like and subscribe, while also share my video, and be sure to check out my spreadsheet if you ever want to buy any videos. I wish you guys the best of days.